In the darkest depths of Mordor, I met a girl so fair, but Gollum, the evil one, crept up and slipped away with her. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another tag video. This one actually got delayed a little bit, but I wanted to first off say thank you to Andrew over at Andrew's Wizardly Reads. He tagged me on this about like 3 weeks ago, and I was like, man, I already got all my holiday stuff kind of locked in, but I'll do it immediately after, so I'm kind of sticking to the plan here. So when he tagged me, I said, it's been a long time since I rock and rolled. I could definitely do this. Now, guys, if you don't know, Led Zeppelin is my favorite rock band of all time. So it was easy for me to say yes to this. Now, what this is, guys, is you're going to have some themes of Led Zeppelin here. He's got some song titles and kind of how they relate to books. And then you pick something that goes along with that. By now, I think most of BookTube understands, even old fogies like me, how the tag thing works. But we're going to dip right into it, guys, with the first category, which is good times, bad times. This wants you to name an author you've read both a great book and a bad book from. First name that came to mind was Anne Rice, my favorite vampire queen of all time. All through high school, man, I was obsessed with Anne Rice. I thought the original trilogy of the Vampire Chronicles was amazing, more than great. I couldn't get enough of it. I reread it several times. I loved it. After that, it stayed decent, and then I was really anxious. She was going to be releasing Armand. Finally going to get that book about Armand. Know all these things about it. I was super, super excited. I was about 150 pages of that book, and I said, oh no. Oh no. So that was the first, the beginning of the end for me when it came to the Vampire Chronicles. I still absolutely adore Anne Rice and what she's meant to my life. But yeah, when I got to Armand, that was the first case where I was like, wow, so your heroes really can put out something that you don't really like. So it does happen from time to time. Doesn't take away from their greatness. Everyone, even Michael Jordan, had a bad shooting night once in a while. Let's move on to the next category, Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. Now, this is the name an author you feel like you've outgrown or you have no interest in reading ever again. I think for me, it doesn't really feel like outgrown as much as I don't think I'll ever finish the series. I'm talking about Christopher Paolini. I really got into Eragon right after I finished Harry Potter. I was kind of just looking for something to kind of fill that void like a lot of people were. So I picked up Eragon. I liked it. Thought it was pretty decent. Nothing original. It was just, fun, fantasy fare. I liked it for the most part. Never got through Eldest. Tried again when I first started this channel. I was trying to go through it again. Got to the same exact spot in Eldest and stopped. So I think it's just one of those things like I started too late in life with this. It's kind of how I felt about Percy Jackson until recently reading that with my kids kind of changed that. It was just maybe I was just too old for it by the time I got to it. I'm definitely too old for it now. It's just one of those things where I watch it or I read it and I'm like, I feel like I know everything that's going to happen, and then when things do happen, I'm just like, that isn't earned, Or, it was written better elsewhere, those kinds of things. So I think Christopher Paolini, I know that people that grew up with it, obviously, that's going to be something dear to them. But for me, I don't see myself ever returning to anything else that he writes going forward, just because I don't think that that's going to be something that's really in my wheelhouse. Next one is You Shook Me. Now, name a book that shocked you with something unexpected. I got to go with Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. Now, this is book number 2 in Red Rising, which we're doing a reread right now of Red Rising, in case you didn't know, in case you want to jump on board, because I want more people to read this. It's kind of funny to think about is that Red Rising is probably a top 5 ongoing series for me right now. This is a series that I just cannot get enough of. Every new release that comes out, I'll be reading it the minute that it is in my fingertips. But with Golden Sun, it really is kind of a story because I didn't really like the first book that much. I thought it was okay, and I almost DNF'd the series. And it's kind of crazy to think about. Golden Sun is what took me from not really giving a damn to thinking, holy hell, I have found the next great series. With Golden Sun, I think it took a series that I felt like, okay, he's just gonna kind of copy Hunger Games here. Is that what we're gonna do? Hunger Games, Lord of the Flies is kind of what we're gonna copy. Ender's Game. We're gonna do anything original, and it completely goes crazy in the best ways. Has one of the most shocking endings I've ever read. And it just takes all these characters that I didn't think that I cared about that much and made me care about them within like 100 pages of Golden Sun. It was like night and day, the difference between those two books. So Golden Sun, if I was doing like I did a video recently about like my least favorite books since I started this channel. If I did a favorite books since I started this channel, Golden Sun would probably be pretty high on the list. I don't know. There's a video idea. How about Dazed and Confused? Name a book or author you don't understand the hype for. Now, if you guys have been long-time watchers of the channel, you know where I'm going here, and it might make some of you newbies flip some tables. For me, guys, this is easy. Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. It's a book that I try to understand why everyone, except me, just seems to think is the greatest book since Lord of the Rings. I have no idea what it is that people find so fascinating about this book. And I'm like, there's lots of beautiful writers out there, but you don't hear anybody talk about anyone else's writing style being the only reason they like it. Because I ask me, why do you like a book? And they're like, I could listen to him, describe or read the newspaper. I could write the newspaper, and I would enjoy it. He could write the phone book, and I'd love it. And I'm like, that's kind of what he's doing here, because I feel like he's just describing grass growing for me, because I didn't like the story at all. I didn't care for the character. I just didn't really buy in at all. Sure, writing style is beautiful. I've got lots of authors that I like to read because their writing is beautiful. Robin Hobb, Christopher Rucchio, Ray Bradbury. I love these authors. I like their story as well, So with Name of the Wind, I just try to understand. Maybe a lot of people told me it was their first taste of fantasy. It's a book that got them into fantasy. It was the first fantasy book they read after they finished Harry Potter. And I think maybe it's got nostalgia for them. For me, I just went into it with a mountain of expectations, and it just did not even come close. I don't think that's the problem, but I did say I would revisit it if he ever does finish the series. So, Patrick, if you ever watch this, I doubt it. Hey, I will retry your series if you do finish that book. Here we go. How about Your Time Is Gonna Come? Name a book that's been on your TBR for more than a year. I mean, this... how long do you got here? That would really be one that I could talk for quite a while about how long I've had some of these on here. I think one that I'm going to kind of pick is one that I've had on my bucket list kind of for a while, and I never really got into it because I'm not really a fan of... I love watching Western movies, but anytime I've ever tried to read anything Western, I've just kind of fell asleep really, really fast. But I watched the miniseries last year, and I loved it, and I am reading it this year with my wife, and that is Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. Now, this is a book, I think it goes without saying, that it has a kind of a standing in literature of just like one of the greatest books ever written. Plenty of authors and other booktubers I know say that it is their favorite book of all time. And that's just amazing that people could say this about a book where I am like, I'm not really sure if that would be for me. But after I watched the miniseries, and other people I know have read it, have said, it's got such great character work, man. You're going to love it. You're not even going to care that it's a Western. Now, I'm not one of those people like, I'm just completely opposed to reading Westerns. I just haven't had a good experience with it yet so far. I mean, I even tried to go back into a Blood Meridian because everybody was over the moon about that book, and it didn't really hit me at all. So I kind of maybe put on the brakes a little bit for that plan, but I am going to do it this year because my wife does have a first edition that she got from her grandpa. And, she wanted to read it before he passed away, and sadly it didn't happen. So when I did tell her I was going to be reading, actually I asked her if I could have it. She told me no. She wouldn't let me have it because that's it was a gift from her grandpa. But I did tell her I was going to be reading it this year, and she's like, I'm finally going to do it with you. So I'm excited for us to do that together, and it's a book that, has a legacy already on its own that I hope will meet expectations, and I expect it to. I expect it to quite a bit. So how about Black Mountainside? There's a deep cut for you. Name a book with an unusual or unconventional setting. This is a tough one for me because I have no idea. Most of the stuff I read is just, pretty standard sci-fi, pretty standard fantasy, maybe some weird horror out there. I'm not really sure. For me, I think that urban fantasy was kind of unconventional when I got into it. Now, I love like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so I've been used to stuff like that, but I had no idea that this was like a fantasy genre until I started this channel. And I never gotten into the Dresden Files books until I started this channel. But I gotta say with Dresden Files, the reason I would pick that is because you've got this idea of a wizard detective who openly advertises that he's a wizard in our world, in real time, in Chicago. Basically it's like Angel Investigations, We Help the Helpless, or, modern day X-Files or something like that. You got some paranormal stuff going on. Hey, no one else believes you, call me up. I can check it out for you because magic, So I know that Dresden Files probably would seem like not that unconventional to some people because it is, in our world, in Chicago. It's not that big of a stretch. But, like I said, you've got a wizard that's got like a talking skull. He gives pizza to pixies to ask for help and stuff. And vampires and ghouls and all that stuff are real in our society, and no one knows about these things. So that's always something that I'm going to be into. I just didn't know, like I said, that was really a genre until I started this channel. But very unconventional to me because I'm so new to it, I think, whereas you might not find it that way. But hey, read the Dresden Files if you haven't because it is superb. How about a communications breakdown? Name a book you buddy read with someone with who you supremely disagreed with. I think this one's quite easy. I wanted to go Winter King, but I don't want to do that to you, Brent. I am going to go with, because we weren't actually reading it together, I'm going to go with The Greatcoats by Sebastian de Castell. That was a read-along that we did on my channel. It was kind of like the test run before we did the Malazan one. Just because it was the first read-along I'd ever really done on the channel. That was a series, a structured thing over months. And I wasn't crazy about book 3, but 3/4 of the series I really did enjoy. No one else seemed to. I don't know if it was the audiobooks were bad or what the problem was, because a lot of the people that I was reading it with, that was my excuse for them, is that they just didn't like the audiobook narrator because they were audiobooking it. I was eyes only, obviously. And I thought the series was fun as hell. I don't know. I was like a very swashbuckling kind of Three Musketeers vibe to it. I had a great time with that series. Like I say, he tried to do something a little different in book 3. It didn't work for me, but book 4, he brought it back around. And still to this day, I think it's got some of the most fun sword fighting in it, like Zorro or something. It's a lot of fun. I have no idea why everyone else I was doing that read along with it, they either bailed or they hate finished it. They didn't really like it at all, but me and my wife read it together. We enjoyed the hell out of it. I don't know. I thought Falkio, Breasty, I mean, they were so fun, man. I had so much fun with that series and so many good times. And I'm excited to return to that world when he ever does release his next book in that series. But yeah, I gotta say, Greatcoats was one that I seemed to be on an island in that one. How much I liked it, and everyone else was like, not really. I Can't Quit You, Baby. Name an auto by author. Now, if you've been to the channel before at all, you know the answer is going to be Stephen King. This is an auto by author for me. No questions asked. Take my money. Say no more. It could just be his grocery list on a napkin, and I'm probably going to buy it. That's just kind of the way it's been my whole life. It was Crichton and King were auto buys. Obviously, sadly, Mr. Crichton's no longer with us, so King is the last auto buy. Without any questions asked, I will pick up his books no matter what they are about. Like, for example, there's a book coming out this year that I'm not exactly excited for. I'll be picking it up and reading it on day one because he is the king for a reason. It's my favorite author. I'm always going to pick up his book. So I feel like that was probably the one that you knew way before I even answered. So let's just move along to the last question here, which is how many more times? Interesting one. Name a book or a series you keep coming back to even after you DNF'd it. Now, it's funny that Andrew would ask me this because Andrew was the king of the DNF, right? Sorry, Andrew, I had to. You knew I was going to do that. I'm not really like that. If I DNF something, it's kind of like if I cut you out of my life. That you're dead to me. And I never really go back to anything. But I did try something this year where I said, last year. I forget we're in the new year already. I did try something in the middle of last year where I said, here's some books that I'd like to try again. I think because sometimes maybe you're in a bad place. Mood can affect how you feel about a series. Maybe I just didn't understand. Maybe I just, didn't care enough to give it a try. So I said, hey, I'm going to go back and try some of these series. And the only one that I retried was Night Angel by Brent Weeks. And I somehow hated it even more. So I don't think this is going to be something that I do very often. So I don't know if I can really say that it's something that I keep going back to. It's just the only series I've DNF'd that I tried again, so I'm not sure where else I could really go with that one. But that's my 9 questions. I probably could have come up with some more, I think, because I don't know. As I'm just reading these song names, I just kind of want to sing the song, and I don't want to do that to you. I already tried to in the intro there, and it's probably pretty painful. I don't know. I'll have to see when I go back and play it. Anyway, Led Zeppelin is great, guys. So I would love for you guys to pick up this list and do it on your own. I guess I'm supposed to tag some people now. Let me think. Who are some of the dinosaurs like me on BookTube who love Led Zeppelin? I mean, how about Philip? Because Philip is, close to my age. I feel like he listens to some good rock and roll music. He's got to like him some Zeppelin, right? He has got nothing better to do. That guy has no collaborations going on, nothing to keep him busy. He would love to do a tag video, right? Who else? I think maybe, how about Library of Alexandria? Because I think Alan is back on his feet again after his accident. So glad that you're doing better, my friend. And I think that he might actually, if he doesn't absolutely hate Led Zeppelin, I think he probably loves Led Zeppelin. But even if not, I think he could find some fun to do in these categories. How about a young whippersnapper? A young whippersnapper that needs to learn about Led Zeppelin. I think that's a good one. Who's a young whippersnapper that I know? How about Alex over at Tall Guy Reads? I think that he might actually need a little education. But you know what? I might be way off on these things because there are other booktubers I think are super young and they're not that far removed from me, or I think they're they're super old and they turn out to be little baby faces. So you never know. You never know. So, hey, if you guys want to do it, cool. If not, no pressure. I'm the same way with tags. I really try to only do the ones that I really do like, even though I do appreciate getting tagged anytime, especially by Andrew, because Andrew, as much as I give him a hard time about his DNFing habits, that is an all-around great guy. And I hope you guys are subscribed to him. I'm going to drop his original video and a link to his channel down below. I hope you guys will check it out, because that is just a positive guy, and there's not enough of those on BookTube. We need all the positivity on this here application, I guess you call it, or video provider. Anyways, guys, that's all I've got to say for now. So hit me in the comments what you would like to do with some of these categories. What would you have picked? What would you think about mine? All those things and more, and I will talk to you there.